What's up, everybody? Haven't talked to you guys in a while. Um, yeah, so I guess I said that like every week I'd be posting and stuff. But yeah, I was pretty depressed for quite a while. And yeah, that's part of it. I expected that. And it's good. Now we're on the upslope. And I haven't made a video for a while because perhaps the upslope was temporary, but this upslope has been pretty um, constant recently, and I can predict that like it will stay that way. And I also have precedents from my 2023 car camping year, because I basically am operating like I did then, and that was my most productive year. So yeah, so I'm happy to share now. Okay, so last was, I don't know when did I post, like in October or November. So basically the timeline was in like June, July, August, I'm working, and I'm working like basically when I want to, and then when I want to do fun Colorado stuff, like, I live 2 blocks from the Flatirons in Boulder, so I can walk to a world-class hike basically. So I was like doing fun stuff when I wanted to, and I was like, okay, I'm only working like 6 hours a day or like less or whatever. This is bad. I need to work 12 hours a day. And like I didn't really want to work 12 hours a day, so it's like you're gonna force yourself. You're gonna like exert lots of self-discipline. You're gonna go through pain, like maybe the first couple hours like that you're intrinsically motivated, but then after a while you're like, this is painful, and then you're gonna push yourself, and then like self-discipline, and then suffer through pain, and then you just keep doing it, and yeah, I mean, kudos to people that can do that for very extended periods of time when there are not external constraints. If you have an external constraint, like, like your company's going to die, you're going to be broke, you're going to, like, something terrible is going to happen. I remember in college, like, I had the senior design project, and, like, we procrastinated starting, and then we realized, oh my god, we're going to fail this class, and like all the shame, we're going to lose our jobs, all this stuff, and then we're working like 16, 18 hours a day. I remember like designing the PCB, falling asleep at my computer, and my partner was like waking me up to like finish. I'm like, okay, so that we could submit it to the manufacturer and stuff. And then like 16, 18 hours a day, I'm like hardly sleeping, and then like we created this incredible thing, and then like we won first place and stuff. And then the business plan competition, I was like going to bed at like 4 a.m. every day. I ended up getting a B in calculus, which really pissed me off. But then we won like 25 grand and like first place. And then there were like other final projects. Like there was this one that you had to present to the class, your final project, and my shit wasn't working, and I was so embarrassed to like the potential embarrassment. So when there are external constraints, you can suffer through pain, no problem. You're so risk averse, you can suffer through pain, no problem. And so like Alex Hormozy, like suffering through pain, the guy was broke. If he didn't like make enough revenue that month, he was gonna freaking like the business was gonna shut down because he wouldn't make rent or whatever. And he also doesn't tell this, but I read this and I saw this like in a video a long time ago that he made. But he would like drink a bottle of whiskey a night, and he was driving drunk, and he got 2 DUIs, and his like girlfriend had to pick him up from jail. He doesn't tell that. So I think in his case, like he went through he built up a lot of stamina, suffering through pain, day after day for weeks, months, years, because he had to. He was externally constrained. He had no choice. And then he built up this stamina, self-discipline is definitely like a muscle, like the neural connections change with repetition. And so he was strengthening that, let's call it a muscle, to the point that he can now continue to do it when he doesn't have those external constraints. But he built that up in an environment where he was externally constrained. And Elon Musk is the same way. Like you can think of, like in the Zip2 early days, like you remember he was like showering at the YMCA and stuff. And I know what that's like. I lived in my car for a year, and like when you live in your car, you're like, I mean, I enjoyed it, but like you kind of want to make some money so that you don't have to live in your car. But in my case personally, I was doing everything out of love. But anyway, and then like '08, and like, he's just building all the stamina, the production stuff in 2017, 2018. In his case as well, he's externally constrained. He's building stamina to continue operating through suffering through pain, and then he can do it outside it. And like he even says this, like that he feels that he's not so motivated unless there's external constraints, and so he'll impose these external constraints, like an impossible delivery date. Like he'll publicly announce an impossible delivery date, and then and then there's this giant surge to rush to get this thing working and stuff. So he feels that way too, and that guy's like the fucking king of execution. So I think the suffering through pain, like, I mean, I've done it. Like there was maybe 2 or 3 months where like I just had this rule: I'm going to work 12 hours a day without exception. And it was like I just made up this constraint, basically. I mean, like maybe there was like a theory behind why I should do it, but it was basically a made up constraint. And like those like 2 months, like I did in 2 months what would have taken me like 6 or 8 months normally. It was like incredibly productive, but then retention was bad. Like I fell off. I was like, why am I doing this? But I wouldn't have been able to do that unless there were some external constraints. And like maybe you can create these external constraints with like the forfeit style stuff. I don't know. I feel like if it's not like a true external constraint, there's always like some way that you can disable it. I mean, I guess you could like fabricate a thing that you don't disable. I don't know. It's just like hard to activate that, And like the thing that you are willing to activate is probably not that long. And then once you finish that short period, you don't reinitiate it because you're operating through positive punishment or negative punishment. And yeah. So the suffering through pain thing, I think, is not the way to operate. So the reason why I haven't posted in a while, and I was depressed and stuff. So like I was saying, so June, July, I'm operating out of love. I'm like working when I want to, and then I also do fun stuff when I want to. And I'm like, okay, I need to be working 12 hours a day because that's what it takes. And if I don't do that, I'm going to fail, whatever. And like, sure, there's like this long-term thing, but you have to feel it day to day. And so I'm like, okay, let me work 12 hours a day. And like, the later hours, like it's just painful. I'm like suffering through it. And then like, I like do other stuff that like kind of qualifies as work, but it's not totally work. Like I'm not working on the thing that I know I need to be working on because it's just so painful. And I do something else that still qualifies work to like meet my constraint, which again is like another problem with the externally, with the like arbitrarily constrained thing. And then I had a forfeit going. That was good. Like there was a good measurement tool. And then like but like because I wasn't. So I think like September, October, or like October, September and October, I had like a forfeit going, like basically work 12 hours a day or like charge me money. And I was doing it, but I was doing the thing where like I wasn't working on the main thing most of the time. I was doing other stuff that like qualified as work. Like sometimes I would like audiobook, like a startup book, which I feel like is important. Like maybe 2 hours, like maybe like less, like, I don't know, a sixth, a seventh of your day should go to reading. It depends on the phase that you're in, but I was obviously doing more than that. Anyway, so, and then I was talking to Leah, and he's like, it's good to talk to him. And then like at the very start of November, we were like, this is not working. You just have to say no to everything. Like, even if you want to take a walk, say no to absolutely everything that isn't the thing. And then you work on that. And then it worked for a couple days, and like it's painful. And then eventually I worked even less hours. And then we said, except for health, you can do stuff that's health related. And then I ended up like spending a bunch of time on stuff that was health related, like spend more time at the gym, and then like, social relationships are part of health. And like maybe when we said that, it was like once a week, and I was like, if I hang out with this person multiple times a week, I don't know. So, and then just saying no to everything just felt really bad. And I was just feeling bad all the time. And it was just like depressed. I was like depressed for like not working hard, and I was like guilty that I was not working hard. And then whenever I would do something that was like fun, I was guilty. And then because like I was in this like terrible state of mind, I couldn't produce good work. It was just bad. It was all bad. It was just all bad. And then, so yeah, so that was a tough, November, December were tough. Those were really bad. Those were really bad. I remember, yeah, I've had, it was really bad. It was really bad. I've had one other bad time like that in February and March 2024. That was really bad. And then I got convinced to start the 12 hours a day thing. And then that like took me out of it. And then also like, I basically retired after that. And then, had a lot of fun exploring, traveling, and doing my mission of the month stuff. So, but yeah, November, December were really tough. And then, so something interesting happened. So at the end of the year, like basically visiting family and then other stuff, I like basically dopamine detox from everything. So I can't really exactly remember. I think I was like on and off blocking YouTube or whatever. Like I would watch like fucking Alex Hormozy videos or whatever. Like what else was I watching? I don't know. And like audio, I don't know what I was doing, but yeah, it was bad. It was all bad. Anyway, so there's some dopamine detox going on over there from the holidays. And then, so like start of January, I started working. And then I was also like, there was this crazy thing. Like I literally I didn't want to come home. Like I remember like at night, I would like park in front of my house and I would just sit in my car for like half an hour or more because I didn't want to come home. And I didn't want to come home because home had all these like, being here just made me sad. And it was like, because I always felt guilt, like I should be sitting at my desk doing work and I'm like over here like doing something that like in the loosest sense qualifies as work but actually doesn't, and like I'm like guilty about it, and like I just felt bad all the time and I just didn't want to be here. Like all the cues for feeling bad were here. And then I thought my lighting was bad, and I think my lighting is kind of bad. I'm pretty sure the CRI for like these Philips Hue lights are not that good, but and also I remember like talking to GPT. I was like, why the fuck is the lighting so bad in my thing? Like, you know how many goddamn light stuff I've installed? There's these fucking corner things. There's stuff on the roof. I bought another thing around because the lighting was so bad. I'm like, what is wrong with the lighting? And it's the color. It's the paint. It's the paint of the walls. I had a long GPT conversation about this because I was like trying to optimize my environment. Like I'm like so depressed in here. I think it's the lighting. Why I don't want to. I was like, I don't even want to work because when I come home, I don't want to work. Why don't I want to work? Because it's the environment sucks. I'm like, why does the environment suck? It's the lighting that sucks. Why is it the lighting that sucks? And then GPT is like, it's the fucking walls, dude. Like the wall, like normally walls are like white and like reflect light better. But because this is like absorbing a bunch of light, you have to add so much different light to like get the lighting that you need. But then you have like all these point sources, and then the point sources like create all this contrast, and it's very annoying. And I was like, okay, let me buy some tapestry to like cover the walls. It was fucking ridiculous. I was in a bad state. I was, oh my God, I was in a bad state. It was bad. It was all bad. It was all bad. And now I love the lighting, my two light bulbs. Before I added anything else, I'm like, these are great. Yeah, what's wrong with this? I'm happy with this. Anyway, okay, so like December, I'm like dopamine detoxing because of the family stuff and whatever. So it's like a little nice reset. Like I'm resetting from all the bad stuff, but still I didn't really. So then like come January where it's like, like now like things start over again. I'm like, I don't really want to work. And I was like, I just need to change environments. I just can't be here. And so I just like started working in places I'd never worked before. And the idea was like, there are cues in this environment that make me feel bad, and I just have to exit. And it's not only cues to make me feel bad, but like, so one thing is like, being in this room, like in my home, like sometimes I would have like YouTube or something, right? And then that would be blocked, and then I would have to work. And then so I'm getting like a dopamine. So like even if there's an intrinsic reward from doing work, there's like a slight dopamine upspike. But because at the same time, my limbic system is like realizing that this reward, this high reward that's expecting, like YouTube, given the cue of where I am, is not occurring. There's a large dopamine downspike. And so even if there's a small upspike, there's a large dopamine downspike. And so it's a net negative and you're unhappy. And so I probably rationalized this after. But then I was like, I just need to switch environments. There's a lot of cues here that just make me feel bad. And so when I switch to a new environment, there's no cues for anything. And like, I have my laptop with me. My phone is like in my backpack. I probably have it blocked anyway. I'm like, what am I going to do? I mean, I'm just going to do work. Like, what else am I going to do? I'm not like going to like walk around this like facility or something. Like, there's also these like, some things are just like socially unacceptable. So like the best thing in my environment, in that new environment, was just working. So I was like, okay, let me start working. And then I just like work. And then like after a while, I'm like, oh, this is good. And like, obviously it's good. I fucking love coding and like stuff and making shit. I love creating. And so like the intrinsic rewards are there. I was like, this is great. And then I remember like doing in 2 hours, like what it was taking me to do like days to do. Cause I was just like I was just so fucked. And then I like went to another place and then like did more, and then went to another place, did more, eventually finished the thing. And then like, the intrinsic rewards are like just like getting confidence and stuff. And then, so like that, I could have just kept going. Like I'm now in this new environment, where there weren't cues for this bad feeling stuff. And the only thing that dominates is the intrinsic motivation from the activity, because there's nothing else better in that environment. Everything else is kind of like frowned upon. And yeah, so I could have just kept doing that. Now, I could have just kept doing that, but around that same time, I ended up having to buy a new computer because my old computer was old, and I realized that I had to like start coding in Swift for like iOS apps and stuff, and like my old computer was like too old, so I had to buy a new computer. And so I bought a computer, and then like I bought a monitor and whatever. And then so now like my home environment also changed. So like that was actually really interesting. So like rather than like, my laptop on like a stand with the keyboard and the mouse, now it's like a bigger monitor moved somewhere else, and then like another thing. And also like the environment on the computer. Like on my old computer, I have all my icons and like whatever, and like my Chrome, whatever, however it's laid out. And on the new thing, like I didn't like map everything over. I just like started it fresh. And it just like, it felt like a different place. And like, it sounds silly, but it basically is a different place. So like, even though you're in the same room, I mean, you're basically locked into your digital environment when you're working. And it was a different place. So it was basically a different environment. So on top of my environment, like at home changing, and then me regaining the intrinsic rewards that I wanted, like the cues just kind of disappeared. And like maybe from like the dopamine detox and stuff, like I don't know, but the cues like at home just kind of disappeared. And I started working really productively at home. And I would say like, I'm not going to like force myself. I'm not going to suffer through pain. Like if I don't want to, I'm not going to force myself, because like it was just too bad. I was like, I can't do that. So that was working for a while. And then I kind of like basically graduated the idea, or like maybe not graduated, but like formalized how I thought about it more. And it's basically like I'm operating through love. I'm operating through love. And I would say this constantly, and it's so funny that I would say this all the time and not like follow my own advice. So like forfeit self stuff, where you like force yourself to do stuff through positive punishment, works but has bad retention, right? Because you feel bad all the time and you want to escape that system. Better is, and this is like the central thesis of AS, and I wasn't following it, which is that you should always do whatever you want to do, but you just design the environment so that the best thing in your environment is the thing that that your long-term self wants you to be doing. And so I was like, okay, I'm just going to operate out of love. And so now I like code out of love. Like, I love coding. Like, I get a lot of intrinsic motivation from coding, like creating and like architecting and like designing like a system that like where the code is clean and like everything like feels really good and whatever. And also just the act of creation, and also like solving like a important problem. Like, it's all good stuff. Um, but then sometimes I wouldn't want to code and I wouldn't force myself. I'd be like, I'm going to go on a hike. And like walk over there and go on a hike. Amazing hike. I was like, wow, I feel so fulfilled. I have this video that I should post, like how ecstatic I felt on this hike. Maybe I am going to post it. Maybe I'll post it after this. It was a couple days ago. So a couple days ago, I was just like, okay, like I worked, maybe 4 hours, like good deep work session, like super good. It's like, like waking up like you're Peter Thiel and like, not that he does this, but like if I were Peter Thiel, I feel like this is what my days would be. But like you wake up and you like, you just like do deep work on like something really fun, like discovering physics or something. And like maybe some jazz is playing or maybe not. Maybe it's quiet and you're drinking coffee and whatever and you have a good view or something. Anyway, like a couple hours of that. I was like, okay, I'm gonna do something fun. So like I did that because I wanted to. I wanted to do that. I had intrinsic motivation and like I wanted to do that thing. And then I was like, okay, I don't want to do this anymore. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna go on a drive. And like Boulder is like right next to the mountains, so I like driving in the mountains. And then like I love driving through mountains and freaking amazing. Golden Hour is great. And I was like, what? I'm gonna hike right there. I'm like driving by. There's no hike. There's like a pull out parking lot. I'm like, what? That looks beautiful. I'm gonna hike right there. Just like pull over, and then I'd like climb up this like steep ass motherfucking thing, and I just like start hiking. And it's like unbelievable, and like probably no one has been there in like years because there's no trail there, and like that's not a place that you access. And then there are these deer, and then they're looking at me like, what the hell is this guy? Like I've never seen a human before. And then like I talk to them, and I'm like talking to them for like 20 minutes. It's kind of insane. I'm going to post this video. You're going to think I'm on drugs or something. But like this is peak happiness. This is peak max happiness. I was like exploring, like I was the most excited person in the world. And then I drove home and I was like, what do I feel like doing? I feel like coding. And I like played some music. I was like jamming. So another thing is like temptation bundling is very important. So sometimes like code is great. Sometimes like there's like stupid error bullshit that you have to fix. And like, this is fucking retarded language. Like Swift is fucking horrible. So like sometimes there's like dips in intrinsic motivation, but then you can bridge the gap. So like you recouple extrinsic rewards until the intrinsic motivation takes over again. And so like I have this rule, and this worked for me in Austin when I would work after my job, when I was building Password Locker basically, and the first version of the picture menu, where I had this rule where I would only listen to music when I coded, and every time I coded, I would listen to music. And so now I developed like this one-to-one relationship between coding and music. And this is called temptation bundling, but I didn't know at the time, so, like independently discovering it. And like I remember there was a time I came home, and like after like a month of doing this, I remember there was a time I came home, I was like, I could either watch YouTube, like not like a fun thing, but like a productive thing that I'm like interested in, or I could code. And I decided to code because I wanted to listen to music. I was like, that's insane. That's insane that I did that. And like that was a really productive time. Those couple months, and I like basically built PL, which is like cash flowing me. So anyway, so like stuff like that is like still important. In any case, but yeah, so like stuff like that is important to make the thing that you want to be doing like a top thing in your environment. So like I code for a few hours, I like go on a hike, I come back, I like make food, I'm listening to like the Elon Musk audiobook. I'm like, I feel like coding again. And I go code. So I'm just like doing whatever I want to do at every moment. And there's no pain to suffer from. But the important thing is that you have an environment where the thing that you want to be doing is like one of those top activities. And it's not number one. Like, yes, I'm still only working like 4 to 6 hours a day. Like it's not 12. Like I agree it could be better. I'm not gonna push it. I'm not gonna force myself to do it because we know how that ends. If I want to do more than 12, if I want to do 12, I have to change environments, right? Like, what do I do now? Like, yeah, there's fun color activities. Maybe there's like a person I can hang out with, whatever. If I really want to do 12, if I wanted to love doing 12 hours of work a day, never forcing myself to do it, right? How would I do that? Like, how would I change the environment to guarantee that? I would, and like, big shout out to Rian Doris. I like read this email where he talks about this 1 year decade. You move to fucking Costa Rica in the middle of nowhere where there's no one in sight for miles. Right? The fuck else are you gonna do? You're gonna like walk outside a little bit and work. You're gonna work 12 hours a day, and you're gonna love doing it because it's the best thing in your environment. And I think for me personally, and maybe everyone, like it's important to like minimize the latency between like stuff that like keeps your limbic system happy and stuff that like is your mission. And so like if you're in Costa Rica and you're in a nice place and like assuming you like nature and stuff, like maybe a walk, like Carl Jung, like Deep Work is a good book. But like, you know, Carl Jung, you like take your morning walk and you like ponder and you think, and then like it like fulfills your limbic system and stuff, and then you come back inside and then you work on your mission. Like you can work 12 hours a day, and so like you accomplish in a decade what you accomplish in a decade in a year, because you switch your environment. But anyway, so that's the point, that like that's a way that you can look forward to working 12 hours a day, and you still operate out of love. And so, and like now, like I mean, there are people like one thing I do is like I try not to have friends. I think that's very important. And like this is my biggest reason for not having a long-term girlfriend. Like I've dated lots of girls, but like in the back of my mind, I never want to be in a really long-term relationship, because on like Wednesday night, you're living with your long-term partner, you're gonna like hang out, watch a movie or something. Better if you don't have that person is you work. And like I want to like work and like whatever, reach certain things before that happens. So friends is another aspect. It's like Saturday night. Like Saturday nights, like sometimes are tough, right? Like people are going out. I'm like, well, I'll just code then, because what the fuck else am I gonna do? And that's great. That's exactly what I'm trying to create. It's sort of like commitment advice. So yeah, and I have one friend now, and it's too much. It's too much I have too many friends. I have one friend, only one, and it's too many friends. Because there are times where I like hang out with them, you know, and it's bad. I could be working, and like I love work. And like, you know, social relationships are like quote unquote important. One thing I've realized is that being by yourself doesn't make you lonely. Being by yourself but seeing other people with others makes you lonely. I've noticed that so many times. Like, I don't know, I was on a hike, and like I was in an area where there's not really anyone. Not the one I was talking about earlier, but a different one. And I was like, oh, amazing, euphoric. And then I finally come back down and like come through the like trailhead, and I'm like in the area again. I'm like ecstatic and stuff. And I see a bunch of groups and they're all laughing and talking, and then I started feeling sad a little bit. I started feeling lonely. But I didn't feel that at all for the last 4 hours when I was by myself. So it's definitely like a social thing. And I also, there's this other time I did this meditation retreat for 10 days in Dallas when I like started my car camping trip right after I quit my job in like March 2023. And it's in Dallas, outside Dallas, like an hour outside Dallas. Vipassana, I heard from Jack Dorsey. It's a good thing. And so you meditate 10 hours a day. You wake up at 4 a.m. You can't talk to anyone. It's 10 days long. And on the last day, or the second to last day, you can finally start talking. And you leave the hall. So you're in the hall. They say, okay, after this, you can start talking to people. And I remember like leaving, and I hadn't started talking to anyone yet. And then there were like groups forming. And like all of those like 9 days leading up to it, like, yeah, I didn't talk to a single person. No one talked to a single person. Didn't feel lonely at all. Like didn't feel, and like, sure, maybe like there's a confounding variable where there's people literally next to you. But didn't feel lonely at all. And then once like I came out, and then like people, there were groups that were started talking to each other, and I was still alone, not talking to anyone. I started feeling really lonely. Like they're just these groups, like just like laughing because they're getting it out of their system, like, you know, being bottled up basically. And then I started feeling really lonely, and I was like sad, but I was like, oh my God, this is such an interesting phenomenon. And I was like trying to like assess it, and then someone said something to me, and then I started talking to them, and then, like the moment was lost. But I've noticed that many times like elsewhere. So being alone doesn't make you sad. It's being alone and seeing others happy, makes you feel lonely. Or me personally, I don't know if that's true for everyone. And I also remember another time where I was like not talking to everyone. I would like work out, take a cold shower, and like I was getting all this dopamine from the cold showers, and then having lunch and then going back to work. That yeah, like I didn't feel the need to talk to anyone. I feel like talking to someone is not actually the thing that's important. Like social relationships is not actually the thing that's important. It's like a threshold of dopamine per day. And if you get it from other sources, then that's fine. Like you get a lot of it from talking to people. And like that's a very natural way of getting it. But if you like do this extreme stuff, like, you know, painful stuff that people don't really do, and you can still get to the threshold, then I think that's fine as well. So not totally sure about that, but hypothesis, conjecture for now. Anyway, okay, so back to like how I got out of the rut and then momentum, upwards momentum. So basically, I am now and have been in a mode of operation where I'm just doing whatever I want to do at any given moment. And a lot of the time I want to code because that is like one of the top couple activities for me because I love it. I'm intrinsically motivated. Like the action is like actually enjoyable. And yeah. And then there's other activities like hiking and like okay. Yesterday I went hiking and then like climbed the third Flatiron a little bit and like that was freaking awesome. I also had like done like a couple hours of work that day. Today I like biked like 14 miles. I was like exploring Boulder and stuff after having coded for a couple hours a day. Amazing. Tomorrow I'm gonna go skiing in the morning and then code some more later. Like at any given moment I'm doing whatever I want to be doing, and it's great. I'm not like guilty about like not working 12 hours a day. So yeah, I feel productive, and like you could say like in the lens of like November, I'm like a piece of shit, because I'm not working enough. But still, the solution is not suffering through it. It's just changing your environment so that you actually want to do what you want to be doing, the 12 hours thing. And I think the way to do that is actually like moving somewhere where there's no one, and like you just like but like you don't really have the option to go skiing or to like bike around, like you probably don't even have a car or whatever, and you get your groceries delivered, and like you don't feel bad that you're alone and other people are hanging out with each other and like having fun because you don't see anyone, and you're also not tempted to hang out with like a girl or whatever, who I'm probably gonna break up with, but you're not tempted to hang out with her because there's no one to tempt you. And you don't have to do that for the rest of your life. You do that for a year, and you just barbell the shit out of life, like Anti-Fragile. You barbell the shit out of life. For a whole year, you do nothing but epic production. You get 10 years in a year. Maybe it's not 10. Maybe it's like 3 years. There's definitely like a big multiple. There's maybe like 3 to 1, if not more. There's definitely that. So you get like 3 years or more, 5 years of like production in a year. And then you go back to society, and then you do nothing but the best consumption you can possibly do. And then you just like flip-flop, nothing in moderation. You just barbell the shit out of life. And I think that is, and like every time that I've done that in my life, it's always been the best. And whenever I like kind of do like half like fun stuff, half work, it's like never as good. And so like I think barbelling life, production and consumption is the best way to do it. So current status, yeah, I feel good. I'm working, doing deep work, making progress. If I want to be doing more, the solution is changing environments. So maybe in the summer when my lease ends, maybe I'll move to Thailand or Costa Rica or whatever and like live in the middle of nowhere. Like still a nature place, that's important. Like for me, something I've noticed like through my travels, there's 3 things in the city that I like, or in a place to live that I like. 1, it's nature-y, which in my case is like mountains and trees. 2, it's small, which is like a 10K to 100K population. And 3 is young, people my age. And so I picked living in Boulder because it had those 3 things. There's other places like Burlington, Vermont, and like there's places in California and like stuff like that meet those criteria. But I love Colorado. Boulder's great. So I was like, okay, I'll pick here. But those are a good 3 criteria if you want to like consume and produce, or at least just consume, right? But I wasn't thinking like I should be in full production mode, producing. And so in full producing mode, you actually I've realized I don't want the third criteria. I don't want people my age. I don't want anyone. Like small is still fine, or maybe no one, but nature is really important to me, and so I could totally like live in a cabin, in a forest, walk down to like a body of water, whatever. Like it could be like a shitty cabin. Yeah, that would definitely work. I could definitely do that for a whole year. And like Thailand, like Bali, I was looking at some point, and there's like these really great places, and they're cheap too. Like not in the area where like people live, where the indie hackers live, but like more in the center part of the city or the island. Anyway, so yeah, so maybe come summertime, this summer, next, I don't know. There's a couple months, so we'll see how it goes until then. I might do that. So now what am I doing specifically? Like, so first I'll just mention execution wise, like that's a big deal. That's a big deal. And like, it's funny. I knew this the whole time. That was the whole thesis of AS, and I was not following it. Now I'm following it. So it's good. And yeah, I got out of the rut. So like getting out of the rut first was like knowing like you should not, another thing was like there, and this was, I watched this like after I thought about all this, but it was like extra validation. But there's this video of like Tony Robbins like with Alex Hormozy. It's kind of an amazing video, and I think like everyone who watches it realizes that it's an amazing video, and I'm sure this is gonna be talked about for a long time. But yeah, that is it's another representation of the exact same idea. And the thing I was saying at the beginning, where Alex like was able to like work in this lifestyle, is because he was externally constrained, and you can't like impose that artificially. And he built stamina from that. But so what was I saying? Yeah. So the way I got out of the rut is like first accepting not to suffer through pain, that you should be doing whatever you want to be doing, but you still want to design your environment. So like I have YouTube blocked. I haven't watched that in forever. Like all the TV stuff is all blocked. Like you don't want to waste your time with stuff like that. And then like I'm trying to like not have friends. So like that's another environmental constraint. Like I could do more, like maybe there's more I don't know what else I could do. Like at some point, like, you know, the city that you live in, whatever, all the stuff, whatever is available to you. Like the fact that I can go hike there is a problem in some sense. But also maybe good, because like the minimizing latency between what gives you joy limbically and your mission. But like, yeah, so maybe if I just had the hike and there's nothing else, then that would be ideal. But then there's like all this other stuff and like seeing people and whatnot. So anyway, so point is not trying to suffer through pain and doing whatever you want to be doing, but you're trying to like curate your environment as best as you can, so that some of the things, or the main thing that you want to be doing, is your mission, or whatever your long-term self wants to be doing. So that's one. Second, so that's like just idea wise. But second, the big thing is like when you're right, just change environments. You have all these cues for bad behavior. You have cues for like just a bunch of bad stuff. You just need to change environment, complete reset, where the cues don't present, right? Because like most of the stuff that's making you feel bad is like not in your cortex. It's like more primal stuff, and those are just, you know, stimulus response, and so those are cues, and the cues are from environments. So you just change environments, and like the coffee shop or like those kinds of things is like is a good environment for doing work, because there's a social aspect that frowns upon like, you know, doing random stupid shit, and so you just like feel like you should work, and then like builds up your intrinsic motivation, and then just keep doing that for a long time, and then maybe like when you come back to your home environment, it's better. I actually don't know that. What I do know though is that maybe you can also change like your actual home environment, like change your like monitor setup and whatever, you know, just whatever, just switch it up, switch your digital environment, like make a new user on your computer that's like completely new, and then like just put your monitor in a closet and buy a different one that looks different, put in a different way. I don't know. Just I don't know if that I don't know, but there's probably something we said there. Yeah, and then if you feel like what you're doing is not adequate, then you don't force it. You change your environment so that becomes the best thing, and you can move to Costa Rica or whatever the fuck. Okay, so that's the execution side. So I think I have execution kind of solved, or at least the path for solving it. Now, strategy-wise, what am I actually doing? So the last few months, I was kind of following the Ash framework, the demo, sell, build stuff, which I think definitely still has merit, where you basically, basically have landing pages. Basically, you map out the funnel, the customer journey funnel, right? A user, whatever your traction channel ads, or whatever traction channel you have, user finds out about you, lands on your page, acquisition, they sign up, registration, they use the thing, retention, they pay you revenue, whatever. There's a customer journey, there's a funnel that they follow. And so there's no point in working on a middle part of the funnel, like retention, which is building product, before you've even validated that people who see your landing page are going to sign up. So you build in order of the funnel. So you build the landing page first, drive traffic to it, make sure that people are signing up. If they're signing up, which they'll just see a waiting list page, then you build the thing. And if you don't have that, then you don't build. And so that is the theory, and that makes perfect sense. Because it might be waste, like Eric Ries, you might be building something that's waste that no one wants. And you're validating it, and then building, you're product is being pulled from the customer. Lean manufacturing wise, So I was following that for a while, and basically I was working on traction. So I would have some signal from people. I remember doing this outbound stuff to people, and then be here's stuff, would you we talk, and then would you try this? That's not a good question, but basically, and they're sure, which is basically the same thing as adding your email to a sign up page or whatever. And then I was I need more, because I was following the traction roadmap. See, that's the thing, the thing about, okay, there's a couple things about the running lean Ashmore 3rd edition that I don't like. Go slow to go fast, bad advice. Never do that. Just go as quickly as you can. And then just how planning oriented he is, like the traction roadmap, assuming this 10% growth rate per week, or 10x per year, or whatever, all this stuff, it's just, all this stuff is too predictive. Anti-Fragile is a very good framework. The world has too many unknown unknowns. You simply cannot predict everything. And making a model like this and expecting to follow it is a predictive thing. You cannot do that. There are too many unknown unknowns. And instead, you try to maximize the volume of cap downside, unlimited upside experiments that you run. You try to invite as much volatility in as little time as possible, and you basically keep making these bets. And you have to experiment empirically rather than predict in your mind, because there's too many unknown unknowns. And the product market fit definition, imagine a vector space of product, or just think of a plane of where product can be, and then there's another plane which is market, and then you could build this product and you're trying to interact with this market, but there's not a fit, and then you okay, you pivot to a different market, there's this market, but there's not a fit, and then you iterate product to this version of product, and then now there's not a fit here, but there was a fit there, but then there's actually a fit over there, whatever, and you're constantly iterating in product space and iterating in market space, and then finally trying to find some fit between the two of them. And you cannot do that in your mind. You cannot do that in a predictive system. You have to, and you want to be dumb and anti-fragile rather than smart and predictive. So you have no idea what's going to work. You literally just throw shit at the wall because too many unknown unknowns. And sure, your thinking is sort of guiding where you're going, and feedback from the market and stuff, sure. But the number one priority is maximizing the number of experiments, interactions with the market in as short as period of time as possible. So go slow to go fast is bad advice, I think, under that lens, and I think that lens is correct. And then the traction roadmap and like the again more predictive models. Like 80% of that book is still amazing. I think there's still some of it that's wrong. And so like how he like has the stuff like you talk to the people for like fucking 2 weeks or whatever, however long, and then like you craft the thing and then go back to them and try to sell them the demo and whatever. Like, yeah. So how do you but like following the order of the funnel is still important, I think. Like you're still making bets to like follow the order of the funnel, because the business is still like a system across the funnel. And so, but the mistake I was making was like, there were people like, who's going to try my shit? And like the riskiest assumption is in the retention space. But like, I was like, I need more volume so I can hit the traction roadmap numbers. And I was like, okay, let me try like this different, let me try making content to like bring more people into like the start of my funnel and like growing my wait list, grow my wait list. And then once it's big enough, then I'll start building. It's wrong. It's premature optimization, right? It's premature optimization for a single step across the funnel. The right way is as soon as you have some people flowing from one step to the next, as soon as people start flowing into the second step, you start building for that step, because your goal is to make a complete loop as quickly as possible. If you instead like try to like bring like hundreds or thousands, or let's say hundreds of people, making it past the first step before you start building the second, and you really premature optimize on the first, then by the time you start building and then you get to a full loop, maybe there's like something really like important that you find out that like invalidates all the work that you did in the first step. You have to make it a full loop as quickly as possible. So that was the mistake I made. So in June, within like 2 weeks or less or whatever, 2 or 3 weeks or less, that like I was like just doing one-to-one cold outbound, I was ready to build. And then I did this thing where I like tried finding more customers, and then it was bad. I should just start building. And then the other reason for building is because like, sure, primarily this is a retention problem. Like that's the riskiest assumption. And so like it makes sense to like tackle that by building. But the other thing is like, like your conversion rate is like bad. Like, I can have a landing page and I can drive ads to it and stuff. Actually, what was the motivation? Anyway, it's weird. I have this all written down. I have this note on my phone it's called like startup thoughts over time and like date, and then you thought like if there's anything like startup strategy wise. So it's in there. But anyway, my point was like, I have to know that I can like create a thing that works. Like that's the thing that matters. Actually now I remember. And I remember talking about this in July. There's a video, it's like the second video I made, where I talk about like all the primitives I need. Like I need like a screen time blocker on the phone and like on the computer, and I need like a camera thing, and I need like a Cluely system, and I need like another dedicated like software for like something. So I need all these primitives, and I can put them together. And the idea was like, since it's going to take a long time to build all that, I'll build each of them individually, repurpose them for like an actual valuable use case, which I know because there's an existing market for it, and I'm just going to make it free. And then, which is fine because I have high CLV later, like the Russell Brunson value ladder thing. But the idea was this was the idea. It was, I cannot, and like, my central thesis for Autonomous Self, that article, like sure, like, maybe there's science in there and whatever, but still, it's too complex of a system, too many unknown unknowns. You have to experiment empirically. You have to figure it out empirically. And so I cannot sit in an armchair and figure this out. I have to, what I have to have is a test bed of customers, a flow of customers to experiment with. And I can only have a flow of customers to experiment with if I have something that they can use. And so my priority is to get as quickly as possible to something that people can use, and then I can start experimenting. So like I build one primitive, dedicated, like useful, dedicated purpose. I have a test bed of customers. I can start iterating a new thing. Like I can start iterating on a new thing with those people. Same for all the other primitives, putting them together. But then just like the general lean start, like honestly, you don't like really even need, like you don't even have to, like the only book that you have to read is the Lean Startup. It's funny because I've read all these 10 storybooks to like understand the full picture, but like the only one that everyone reads is the only one that you need. Like I think you need some context by like reading Four Steps to Epiphany, but that's basically the only book. Like just you just get as quickly as possible to building, and then you try to move people through the funnel to the end as quickly as possible. That's it. And like, yeah, like you're gonna talk to people and be like, sure, I'll try something. Once you have that, then you start building. You don't even need to like do the more scalable approach through a landing page. Like if you can just like talk to people like one-to-one outbound and be like, sure. So yeah, there were a lot of mistakes there. I was like following by the book and like, yeah. So I'm building. So I'm building so the idea is I'm just going to build an AI screen time blocker. So there will be a screen time blocker, Opal quality, whatever, Opal brick quality, whatever, for free. Completely for free. I did already validate the beginning part of the funnel. I ran some ads on Reddit. I made a landing page showing like the whole screen time blocker, and like people were signing up. Like made sure people were signing up, and they were. And like once there were a handful like signed up like over a few days, that is enough data to start building. So I was like, okay, perfect. So the idea is like free tier is just a full screen time blocker, like perfect Opal quality, and then like for like on the order of like $10 a month an AI screen time blocker. And I'm building that just because I need that as a primitive for the full vision, but that will exist as a standalone thing just so I can get stuff into market and then create a test bed, create a flow of customers from which I can empirically experiment on to see if I can actually solve the retention problem for the general vision. So that's the idea. So I've been learning Swift, and I'm making stuff. And Swift is fucking retarded, but good thing is like since I know how React works really well, I'm just like basically rebuilding React in the Swift language. And there's some stupid things because it's a stupid fucking language, but yeah, so it's good. And so yeah, that's what I've been up to, I guess. Yeah, I guess that's it. Okay, hope that helps. Bye.